That is, the festival will be on the 23rd. The battle itself is on August 30th, 1852.
I see. So, and this is a so it's a celebration that is open to the public.
Particular,
Okay.
because many of those communities identify with the Battle of Demawe and its legacy as well,
Okay.
particularly in the Lahurutsi region,
Yes.
but also the Botswana Boer War of 1852-53 and the Battle of Demawe within the context of that struggle is being understood as one of the seminal moments, not only for our own country's independence or of emerging to independence ultimately, but as a turning stone, a milestone, maybe a beginning stone of the wider liberation struggle against white settler colonialism,
Very, very
because it was a war that was between indigenous Botswana
okay.
and the Transvaal Boers,
Interesting.
who were to a certain degree in cahoots with the British colonial regime in the Cape.
Interesting stuff. So, Dr. Ramsay, because the festival is happening this weekend, maybe let's actually talk a little bit about the battle in itself. So let's go on a trip. Let's talk a bit about that actual battle at the Demawe. Tell me about what was the cause, what was the conflict. Tell me about it.
Well, it was a pivotal moment in our history because the battle itself, it was a full-day battle. It was the first battle where Botswana came together. Initially, the Marafi that were there were Bakwena, Bangwaketse, who reunited as a Marafi in the eve of the battle. They had been divided for 20 years. Baka and Bakatla Bahamanana. They gathered to defend Demawe against a Transvaal Boer command of over 1,000 that were being sent to basically subjugate the Bangwaketse, the Baralang, and the Bakwena, as well as the Marafi in the Lahurutsi region who had been resisting their rule. And when we talk about their rule, we're talking about a regime that was basically enslaving. They were forcing Botswana to do labor. They were forcing Dikosi to give up laborers, but they were also capturing children and enslaving them. And indeed, when we talk about the Great Trek, so-called, many of those Boers had left the Cape Colony when slavery was abolished. So this was how it was framed for many people, including sympathizers outside of our country. When you talk about the role of some of the missionaries like David Livingstone, to them it was not only a struggle of their flock, it was a struggle of their flock against the scourge of slavery. And so in that context, it was not only a local war, but a war that was actually broadcast, when I say broadcast, not by modern means, but by print, to Europe and beyond, as well as in this region. So the battle itself was all day. What makes it unique is the Botswana were armed with guns.
That was my next question. Actually, I was going to find out what I can't imagine us going against a fully armed Transvaal army with a little more than spears.
No, the Botswana had been gathering guns for some years.
Okay.
Dikosi, like Seychelles, were trading game products, mostly ivory and other game products, for guns mostly. And in the case of Seychelles, he was acquiring some very sophisticated firearms, and of course, very famous, and it's become the symbol of the cultural festival itself. It was Seychelles' 6-pounder cannon. And that cannon was mounted on a battery, we believe at Botswela-Kosi Hill, next to Demawe Hill. And that battery became the focal point of the battle. During the battle itself, the Boers initially torched the village, broke through some of the lines, defensive trenches that had been dug around. But they could not overwhelm Demawe and Botswela-Kosi hills in particular. And the focal point of the battle was to try to take that hill where Seychelles and his cannon were.
I see.
But when the sun set, the Boers withdrew to fight another day. And in the wake of that, the Botswana did, however, strategically withdraw to Kanye and Ditubaruba, where there was a skirmish at Kanye, and the Boers voted they would not pursue the battle at Ditubaruba and instead retreated back into the Transvaal. And this is crucial because sometimes people conflate the Battle of Demawe with the wider war. The war really wasn't won at Demawe, but had the defenders of Demawe lost,
Yeah.
the rest of the war would not have happened. But what Demawe allowed was for the Botswana to make their stand, the Boers to be frustrated in their invasion of southeast Botswana, for them to withdraw. And as they withdrew, the Botswana counterattacked. They raided the Boer farms in the Transvaal for 7 months.
I see. Let's talk about the battle in itself as far as casualties, Dr. Ramsay.
Yeah.
Did we lose a lot of young people? Was it mostly the losses where they felt more on the Boer side or on our side?
Well, if you just go by total numbers, not less than 89 Botswana were killed.
Okay.
And it is quite possible that there were more. But the 89 were those who were counted by Sechele in the aftermath of the battle.
I see.
And somewhere between 28 and 36 Boers were killed. So now that might sound, well, I guess
Out of
only
1,000, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, for the Boers, they were not used to this. Had never happened to them in a battle. And remember, the same Boer leadership under Andries Pretorius had fought the Battle of Blood River only a dozen years earlier against the Zulu, where infamously they had 3 wounded, no killed, and slaughtered over 3,000 Zulu. But again, the difference was when the Zulu fought the Boers, the Boers were in a defensive position with firearms and a steady stream of fire, and they had their own artillery.
I see.
At Demawe, both sides had guns and artillery. And much of the battle, as we're reconstructing it now, was actually artillery against artillery, which is why I think it's entirely appropriate that the cannons become such an iconic symbol now of the battle.
Yeah. Now, insofar as I know that, there is the village of, or rather, Aruba, are there still remains of, this battle wasn't entirely too long ago. Are there graves that have been set aside? Are there remains of people? Talk to me about that.
There's much more that could be done in terms of archaeology. There was a bit of archaeology done when there was a controversy back in the early 90s when a granite company wanted to basically blow up some of the hills for granite. And in the end, that was stopped, and there was a bit of archaeology done. So different things have been found. And when you walk the site, you can find iron workings and middens and things like that. But to be honest, a lot more could be done to, what I would like to find, for example, is we know that there were conical bullets being used, and conical bullets is just what we think of as bullets, pointed bullets, not balls. But those were relatively new things. I mean, they were not the common use. Now, at Demawe, a lot of the bullets on both sides, but most on both Boer and Botswana, would have been ball shot. But that we believe that the conical shot, which went, a conical shot can go up to 1,000 yards. Ball shot no more than 200 yards. Conical shot in those days, before modern medicine, almost was guaranteed either death or amputation.
Jeez.
And so, it was quite lethal. So the fact that the Botswana had some very high-powered hunting rifles, which were like small cannon, they were bought to shoot elephants, but they proved very effective in the battle and keeping the Boers at bay.
Okay. Now, the aftermath of the battle in itself, I heard you mention the fact that, the Botswana went to then go and raid South African farms for months to follow. Why did that come to an end?
Well, first of all, let me just say, so that listeners, it's like we talked about the Bakwena, the Bangwaketse, and the Baka and Bakatl Bahamanana, but also Bangwato, Balete, Baralong, Batlokwa, Baharutsi, various Baharutsi, and other groups joined in the war. And the fact is that during the battle itself, Baharutsi, some of them had been forced to come with the Boers, but defected. And others broke away and joined up with Sechele and Sentuthe and Monshiwa. And so it became a pan-Botswana defense that then turned into a pan-Botswana offense.
Nice.
And it was during that situation that groups like Balete, Batlokwa, Baharutsi groups migrated permanently into Botswana as a result of the peace. It's also as a result of this fighting that Leharutsi region that we know now was created as a buffer zone, basically. It was also a Botswana free zone
I see.
in the aftermath of the war, later becoming part of Bophuthatswana homeland and this and that. So, yes, they burned the Boer farms. And let me just give you, I think it's good to give some quotes here because otherwise people don't believe these things. But first of all, in the aftermath of the battle itself, General Schultz, who was the acting commandant general of the Boer forces, said, "I must regretfully inform you," he was writing to Andres Pretorius,
Yeah.
"that I've been obliged to disband the commando, owing partly to the weakness of horse and oxen and partly to the opposition among the men who would stay not any longer. I also had to attack Sentufi, but there was no time to do it properly. Moreover, I greatly fear that since I cannot keep the commando intact to accomplish anything, the Marico district will be unsafe. This will compel me to remain with groups pending further developments because things have not worked out to my liking." To me, this is the best testimony that Dimawe was not a defeat. It was not a this, it was
Yes.
that. It was a decisive moment.
I was going to say that even the choice of language, it is all, he's saying everything besides that we lost.
Well, and he's saying the Marico district will be unsafe. And that was prophetic because by November 1852, English trader Chapman is reporting in his diary, all the Boers are still in lager. They have been in lager a long time. They dare not venture out on their farms for fear of Sechele. Their cattle are dying fast, being too many together, and diseases amongst them. 2 or 3 females died in the lager. And then again, there was newspaper reports. So here's a newspaper report. That the natives had united in a strong body, followed up retreating force of Boers, and fallen upon the farmers of Marique district, through which the commando retreated. And every one of these has been obliged to fall back with the commando upon the Moy River. Great destruction, of course, marked the progress of the conquering natives. Every homestead has been burned and standing corn, ripe for the sickle, together with vineyards and gardens which had been in full bloom, have been entirely destroyed. At one point, there was a lager at Groot Marico, but otherwise the Boers evacuated to what is today Rustenburg and Potchefstroom. So, and there was further skirmishing and battle. There was a battle at Masita between the Baralang and the Boers, this time under Andres Pretorius' direct command, which, like Dimawe, was a standoff. I should perhaps note that 124 children were captured by the Boers, so their return became a big part of the peace negotiations because the Boers began to sue for peace with Sechele at Ditubaruba as early as November 1852. That is just 2 months after the battle. And
were the raids by the Botswana in a way to try and maybe liberate those children?
Yes, it will put pressure on the Boers, and also since the Boers had taken some of their cattle and burned their village.
Yeah.
This is how you fight war.
Yeah.
War is hell, as Tecumseh Sherman said. And indeed, Sechele's would not continue in negotiations until his own son Kari was liberated. So Andres Pretorius personally bought Kari from the person who was holding him and returned him with a person named Viljoen to meet with Sechele's brother Kosadensi to begin the armistice. I might add too that, and I think we've said this before, that initially there was an armistice by March of 1853, but there was still some upsurges in violence. But then there was a peace process that ultimately culminated from 1857 in a settling down. And by 1860, relations with the Transvaal Boers and Botswana this side were good enough for Sechele to spend New Year's at Pretorius, Martinsi Pretorius, in this case, the son of Andres Pretorius. So there was a process both to the war and to the peace that followed.
Interesting stuff, Dr. Ramsay, and that's a very, very fun. So the long term, what a person can walk away with from this conversation is that Botswana might be very, very different had the Battle of Tubaruba gone differently.
Our eastern boundary, and all maps from the 1860s on show this, our eastern boundary with South Africa today is the line that was there at the end of the war.
Oh, wow.
So when you look at all the maps between 1850, well, 1850s, but particularly from 1860 to 1885 when the British show up,
And this is all the way to the Tuli area in terms of
all the way up the
Okay.
Limpopo, basically Limpopo, Mandikwe, Notwane, and what we know as Pioneer Gate.
Yes.
Of course, it used to run further south because Northern Cape was also part of the liberated zone after the war.
I see. Right, Dr. Ramsay, thank you so much for your time this evening. You return again next week, Tuesday.
Be my pleasure.
All right, and then just a quick reminder with the event. What time does it start? I know that, is it also like the battle? Is it also an all-day event?
It is an all-day event. It's certainly, but it starts in the morning. Most of the dancing, there'll be singing, there will be some discussion of the history. I should say that the Minister of Local Government and Traditional Affairs, Masechwa, will be there to give the keynote, but there will be lots of cultural from our country, but I expect South African people to be showing up. And should be a joyous occasion, but most of the initial events, the programming will be in the morning, so get there early and have a good time. And there will be lunch, and then we'll see in the afternoon how long people stay.
All right, Dr. Ramsay, have yourself a great week, and we'll see you at Tuaruma.
Okay.
All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our broadcast for this evening, Morabe.
You were saying?
I was saying that brings us to the end of our broadcast, Morapedi.
That's why next out.
Oh, you are saying?
Yeah.
Yes. Where do we find you on the socials? No, sorry, I was just looking at the screen because I've been having a conversation, so I'm wondering what is his live looking at my computer screen because Hippen.
Okay.
When I was a youngster, and our brothers and stuff used to say, "Hey, how it's kanyati."
Yeah.
Anyway, folks, it's time for us to go. Have yourself a great evening. We come back again tomorrow. Coming up next is Kojo on the Wellness Live, I believe it's called, and it's probably brought to you by the good people from Pula Med. Hey, tada, they used to be friends of the show. But it's all love. It's all love. It's all love. It's all love. Still friends of the station. Kojo's looking buff, eh?
Yeah,
you can see when a guy's in the gym because he just, people buy gym by like pizza because once guys get into the gym and they start working out, they wear clothes that don't fit them anymore.
I have a theory about Joe, but I will keep it to myself.
No, then you what's the theory?
No, I'm wondering. Wow,
yes,
for his buff and everything.
Sure,
now. And then it makes me wonder.
Yes.
Is there, Joe? You asked me a question. Take the mic. I'm going to ask you.
Yes. This I must hear. Okay.
You are buff now. I'm not saying that you were not like buff before, but you know the truth.
Yeah.
Is there a woman in your life?
Why would you think this is as a result of
answer the question?
Answer simple.
Okay, no, there isn't. But why would you think
that's my answer.
What's your
answer? My answer. There's no woman in your life. I get it. You are happy. He's buff,
I do not endorse this message at all.
She's having a conversation. Why is it, Kojo, with buff guys? The moment you guys get buff, you stop wearing clothes that fit you.
Who's the we?
No, there's this general. There's a consensus amongst all buff guys. Hey guys, when we get buff, we start wearing things that are small. Okay.
Pena, help me.
You also wearing things that are small. I don't understand what that is about.
You are buff for you.
Anyway,
I don't know.
Kojo,
I probably need somebody to take me out shopping. I need a new wardrobe.
All right, Tyler. Kojo, what's coming up on the show tonight?
All right, so today we're talking a little bit about geriatric health. So this is
geriatrics. Oh, nice.
So we're talking about health for the older members of society, and I think that's a group that definitely needs attention. But in a lot of cases, when we are making health-related decisions, they get kind of lost in it. So we're going to be focusing on that today. What they should be doing, the do's and don'ts, and what we can do as, caregivers and family as well.
All right, fantastic stuff, folks. That is Kojo. He's coming up next between the hours of 6 and 7 p.m. Otherwise, Marapedi, when they look for you, where will they find you? Hey, Tara, have yourself a great evening, and from us, bye-bye.
Sabong. Power to engage your world is on 90.3 FM.
Well, folks, Environmental Systems is Botswana's #1 ISO and asbestos certified environmental waste management company with more than 25 years in used oil collection, industrial cleaning as well